I'm Kathy Kaiser. I'm the Executive Director of the Ronald McDonald House in Bismarck. Our incorporated group is Ronald McDonald House Charities of Bismarck. I have been with the house since the very beginning. I was one of the founding mothers, and we will celebrate our 30th birthday next July, sorry about that. And so in that time span, we have served well over 5,000 families. The Ronald McDonald House is a temporary housing facility for the families of seriously ill children receiving treatment at one of the local hospitals. The patients are ages 0 through 21. Most of our patients are premature babies and their families on what we call the Feed and Grow program, getting big enough to be able to go home with their families. We also provide housing for high-risk moms that maybe need to stay close to the hospital if they're anticipating an early or a difficult birth, and they will come in and stay with us for quite a while. The house has 8 bedrooms and 8 private bathrooms, big spacious common areas, kitchen, game room, things like that. Let's see what else. Our families come from all over the state, Montana. We've even had Canadian families and families from South Dakota also. In normal years, we accommodate about 150 to 200 families. Last year we had 24, but last year was a very unusual year. And we were actually closed for 14 months due to COVID. And out of an abundance of caution for our families and our staff, our national organization had us closed down for this time. But we reopened in April of 2021, and we have had, I think, 11 families in so far, and we're delighted to have them. And it's just a little bit different world. Sure. Our mission is to improve the lives of children and their families, and we do that through developing programs that will help children grow, and both in health areas and other areas, and then in that capacity take that home to their families and improve the families' lives too. We actually have 2 programs to exemplify our mission, and that is the Ronald McDonald House that I talked about, and then our Ronald McDonald Care Mobile, which is a state-of-the-art mobile dental clinic that we've now been operating for going into our 10th year. So both of those programs, are great examples of our mission to trying to improve the health and well-being of our children that we serve. We have a very small staff of about 8 people. Some are full-time, some are part-time. And then we have wonderful volunteers who are absolutely the lifeblood of the Ronald McDonald House. And many of them have been with us since the beginning, and we appreciate that. And so we have all age groups. We have college kids that get involved. That's a great way for them to give back to our house and to help us out with staffing. We also have our guest chef program, where we hope that people would consider coming in and fixing meals for our families staying there. And of course, all of this is a little different in the time of COVID, but we're working back to getting our volunteers back in, and of course making sure that everybody's properly vaccinated and all of those things. But that's a wonderful way to support our Ronald McDonald House. We try to help families through probably one of the most difficult times in their life, to find the faith and the hope and the confidence to go forward, and to find a way to take care of their own needs, and in that way then to be able to focus on what matters most of all, which of course is the health and welfare and well-being of the child that they're there to take care of. So we try to take away the common worries of life, like a safe place to stay, a clean bed to sleep in, meals, and access to their child by being close to the hospital. And if we provide those things to the family, then they can focus their prayers and hopes and everything else on helping their child get better, and then helping them get through this very difficult time also. In our 29 years, I go back to the first family that ever stayed at the Ronald McDonald House. And we'd worked so hard to get the house open. And this particular family had been in a terrible car accident. And the dad and the daughter were in the hospital for quite a while, and the daughter remained in the hospital. So this family came to stay with us. We didn't have carpet. We didn't have a lot of things, but they had stayed at the hotel for so long. And the first morning after, the first night that they spent there, we have a wonderful gazebo out on the back deck, and the dad fixed himself a cup of coffee and went out there on the deck and was just so happy to be enjoying fresh air and all of that. And the neighbor in the yard next door hollered over, and she said, "Well, good morning, hello there." And he was so taken aback that somebody was actually reaching out to him and greeting him like this. And he shared with me later that after they'd stayed in the hospital for 3 or 4 weeks, they sort of became invisible, and the staff were all very nice to them and everything, but they didn't really know what to say. They knew that their daughter was struggling, and so they just, I guess for them, found it easier just to not interact too much with this family. And this man was so touched by the kindness of a complete stranger, our next door neighbor, to welcome him to the neighborhood. I still get choked up after 29 years. So that's one of my all-time favorite stories.